Hi, my name is Brandon, and over the past year, the Delight Cafe team and I traveled across the U.S. researching this rapidly growing industry of CBD products. What we have found throughout the industry were products that were inconsistent in dosage and used ingredients that weren't even lab tested. Products with chalky textures, bitter aftertaste, and worst of all, confusion among the CBD consumers. That's why we created Delight Cafe. A 15 milligram lab-tested, all-natural, water-soluble hemp CBD powder pack. It's odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Add it to your favorite drink of choice, wherever, whenever, on the go. Quickly find your calm, your balance, and your delight when you need it most.
Good morning. Good morning. Java Delight will uplift you. Stay tuned. The show is about to begin. Grab your coffee. Stay tuned. This show is about to begin.
Good morning, Java Delight. How are you this fine day? And welcome back to the show. It's been a long week last week, and even longer for Brandon and Gavin, especially because they drove across country to get to Vegas and drove back. And you can see by the brightness of Brandon's eyes, he is excited to be here and has plenty of rest from all that driving back.
Brandon is wide awake. I got back. Oh my God. I got back last night. Let's see. We had a tornado on our drive out that we almost got hit by. Like, it hit the county we were in when we were in it. And I mean, it was raining, and we found out later that a tornado touched down there. And then on the way back home, yesterday, right when we hit Ohio, it just torrential downpour. No rain the entire way, pretty clear skies. It was beautiful. And then all of a sudden, it was just pure downpour. And it was like we came almost to a complete stop. It was just so bad. But no, it was a great week. Great week. Very busy. Lots of good things happening. Yeah, just glad to be home. I know I look like crap, but at the end of the day, I am here because I want to be able to be the example I can be and show my best self for everybody. So I hope everybody's doing well. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody and or catching up with everybody and all that. If anybody has anything they want to ask or anything, please do not hesitate to say something to Brett and I. Brett and I are here this morning. Gavin, I don't know. He said he was going to be here. I think he's just still sleeping. You know what it's like when you get a girlfriend or a friend. Yeah, you're just not going to sleep that night. But no, it's been a good week. We had a lot going on, a lot of busy things. Completely fun. Won a couple awards. Won a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah,
won more than a couple of awards. Actually, Brandon was going out there to win 3 awards that he already knew about, but then he competed for an award and did very well. In fact, he won one and probably came in second on the other one. And you should have seen him. He was on frickin' fire. He was running around, and out of anybody in the event, and this event had quite a number of people. There was actually 5 different shows there, 5 different portions of this conference, 2 of which we were intimately involved in. And out of those 2, I would say that everybody knew Brandon. Brandon couldn't make it 10 steps without having somebody trying to say, stop. I need to talk to you. I need to hear something from you. So he was on freaking fire.
It was fun. I got to moderate a panel of a discussion all about modern healthcare and how adapting to modern healthcare and change, adapting new methods. One of the doctors that was on the committee that was talking, or the panel that I was leading, he created a toothpaste for people who have peanut allergies, and they're waiting for the FDA approval. But you could literally your kids can brush their teeth, and they take the chemical that's in the peanut that people are allergic to and mix it with the toothpaste at a very, very, very small dose. So you're actually able to get over a peanut allergy within a certain amount of time. And you just keep brushing your teeth with it. You grow the antibodies to help you build that up. There were other doctors there that have done a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, Brett, I would say this really was a big healthcare conference. There was a lot of conversations. And then on the other side was a tech conference. That was fun. I don't know. You got to see from the I got to see from the perception of running around and being pulled and put on stage, and like having conversations and stuff. You got to see it from the angle of somebody in the audience and somebody who was learning and growing there. What would you say? Like, how would you say this conference went? Because like, what would you say to everybody? I'm tired, guys. I got in at 3 this morning and laid right down and still woke up at 6:30 to make sure I'd be here on time to talk to everybody and say hello. I have meetings all day today. And, I got sick on my way out there. Like, ask Brett. I've been coughing all week. And trying to keep away from everybody on the drive home. My lungs are full of congestion right now. So if you see me muting a lot, it's just me coughing and not wanting you guys to hear it. All right, I'll shut up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brett. Talk.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to, as you see, just on cue, Brandon coughs. Yes. Wanted to just say good morning to Bob. Looks like he's en route with Natasha coming behind him all the way back up to Colorado and his rocket scientist friend. That's awesome. Drive safely, Bob. Understand if you can't tune into the show while you're on the road and can't get a good connection. Jessica, so happy to see that you're here. I know you two have been having some challenges that you haven't been feeling too good all last week, and I think you're going to be taking care of yourself some more today. And Brian Tracy, it sounds to me like maybe you've overcome your truck problems and you're going to be moving and getting back on the road, which is, from a truck driver's perspective, if you don't got those wheels rolling, you ain't making money. So getting back on the road is absolutely critical, and looking forward to hearing Brian as he's traveling back on the road again. So getting back to the show that we were at. Oh, Sherry, I want to also acknowledge Sherry. Good morning and glad to see you out there. You're muted, Brandon, I think. So if you were trying to talk, you were muted.
A coughing orchestra. Yes. Come on. Ready? Sorry, that was just too funny.
No, actually, I spent all day Saturday sleeping. I didn't have to drive across country. So I was running the Healy and sleeping all day Saturday, which I think is the reason that I'm feeling so much better today. Jaybird, Ozone gonna get you. Good. Welcome back. Yes, we are so glad to see everybody back. Apologize for anybody who may not have known that we weren't able to run the show last week from Wednesday to Friday. We were just so tied up in the conference that we were at that we just didn't have time. There was no really good facility to be able to do it while we were there. It was exciting. So coming at it from a spectator's perspective, I tried to be in the audience every time that B was either going to get an award or nominated, or he was moderating or giving a presentation. And he has a different style than anybody else that was there. You know, people would get up there with their prepared speech. People would get up there and, you know, kind of be probably more of the way that I am when I do a presentation. But B would just get up there and be Brandon, and everybody loved that. It was a totally different way of presenting information, a totally different way of presenting himself. And that is why he was so popular during the show, because it was not the typical guy who runs a company who's trying to make a presentation and has all his shit together. Not that Brandon didn't have his shit together. He just kind of threw some of that stuff out the window. It's like he had a prepared presentation, and he basically told him, don't even put that thing up. I'm going to just talk. And
it's kind of what I didn't basically do that. I really did. I went up and I just said, like, I said, put my logo up there and just you like leave it from there. I'll take it. And honestly, it was pretty impressive because like it was about customer connection and how I connect with people. And they wanted me to give a presentation to teach people how to do it. And instead of doing that, I talked about why the hell we're missing it and why the hell we're not able to see people connecting nowadays, and why customer bases are not the same as they were, because like people aren't as, thank you, Jay. People are not what they used to be. Businesses are focused on profits only. And I'm sitting here coming in saying, no, you can't sit here and say Steve Jobs wanted to do something to make the economy better. He looked at who he was building the iPhone for. He looked at how he was building something to make life easier for people, to make it better for themselves, and what the consumer would want it. But that's not an easy thing. And then I got into, what's his name? Russell Branson. Nope, that's not right. The Virgin Mobile CEO. My brain just
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson. We talked about him and how he leads his company, and he doesn't lead with customers first. He leads with his staff first. And I was explaining how one hand washes the other with that, and how leading does not mean like you can't tell everybody you want to be a leader and then you don't show up on time. You can't tell everybody you want to be in charge and that you're a partner on things and then you don't do your part. Everybody has their weight to carry. And if your team can't carry their weight, how do you expect your community to want to be involved? How can they lead them? And that's what I was explaining to everybody. So I'd like to thank everybody who's here this morning, that's jumping in and on time and having a good time with us. Very grateful you guys are here. I know I probably look and sound a little bit off, but please know it's not in a bad way. It's just Brandon's recuperating his body and hasn't had a chance to yet.
Absolutely. We met a lot of really good people at this show, and we were unique in that we had our product, the Delight CBD, and we were giving out samples of that, and people were coming to we actually had 2 tables set up on different sides of the room, so we were manning those 2 things, and we were giving out samples, and people were coming up to find out more about what's different about the Light CBD from other CBDs. It was impressive to see when people could tell the difference and recognize that the product that we had is different than other crap that's out on the market. We actually got a chance to show them, and they could actually taste it and use it right there. I had a few people actually, they might have had just a little bit of water in their cup or in their bottle, and they poured it in there, and then they drank it, and they were like, yeah, this really doesn't have any taste or odor to it, which is exactly how we market it. And it mixes really well with waters. So it was impressive, and people really, I think, gravitated to us. The other thing is they recognized it was Joe, Brandon, Gavin, and I that were there. And I had a number of comments about just us saying, hey, you guys are like a really good group of, good guys. There was one time that a woman got frustrated about the meals while we were there. And they had these, tables that they would roll in with the meals. It was kind of a buffet type thing. And they were rolling these the tables out while she's trying to fill her plate. And she got up on top of a chair and just said, hey, and she started screaming and saying, I don't know if you know what's going on, but they were taking out perfectly good food and dumping it while people were still trying to get their food. And one of the first people to do anything was Gavin. He got up and he went over and kind of tried to settle her down and got her a plate of food and said, here, you can go ahead and eat. And that was recognized by everybody that saw him do that. Yeah. And those that knew that he was part of the Delight group were like, wow, you guys don't just, talk shit, you actually walk shit. And that's a good thing. So we talk our talk and we walk the walk is what they were saying. And I thought that was pretty amazing. Yes, we got to lead by example and not just words. And that is exactly what we were doing while we were there. We talked and tried to help other people at the same time. Others were, watching over our booths when we weren't there. When I was having to head over to watch one of the sessions with Brandon there, the neighbors that were at the table next to us kept an eye on our table and things like that. So was really a good thing to happen while we were there.
Well, what was your favorite one?
What was our favorite? My favorite. What
was your favorite part of the favorite part of the conference?
To be perfectly honest, and it sounds like I'm kissing ass, but it was watching Brandon operate the floor. It's that was one of the things that I immediately saw when I met Brandon the first time back in October of last year, before I ever got a chance to meet him in person. I mean, this is the first time that we all met in person.
Correct.
But when I met Brandon, I saw that Brandon had a personality that complemented mine. He's got this big personality when he's in, especially when he's in the mix. And he can maintain that, and he enjoys it, and he loves it, and he feeds off of it. Where me, I tend to be one who observes what's going on and then absorbs what's happening, and then I formulate my ideas and presentations and things along those lines, but not in the same way, shape, or form. I honestly, these types of events for me are draining, because I have to interact with people constantly in a way that I don't normally do. I can do it, but I have to generate a lot of energy, and that has to do with my natural genius or my natural energies. I'm more of a detail introverted from that perspective person, where Brandon is a creator, head in the clouds. And he's got this star component about him where he can draw the light in his direction, and then he can shine that light wherever he wants. And there were numerous times where Brandon was up on stage, like with the panel. Brandon's up on stage and actually, it wasn't the panel. It was one of the competitions where you were up on stage and you came down off of the stage, but you waited because there was a woman that wasn't walking as easily as others. So Brandon stood at the bottom of the stairway and waited for her to come down so he could hold her hand and help her to come down the stairs. And those are just things that, a lot of people don't do, and yet a lot of people recognize it when people do it, because it's something that's out of the ordinary. It's something that not everybody does in these days, and it's very appreciated. And I know that the woman was very appreciative of having that hand there to help her steady herself as she walked down the stairs. So these are literally things, that are not kiss ass type things. These are things that I observed and others observed of the way that Brandon and we in general interacted with people. And that's what made us different than so many other companies that were out there. And that's why Brandon drew the attention that he did, because he's got this ability to just talk to anybody, and everybody wanted to talk to Brandon. So that was pretty freaking awesome.
I appreciate that. I didn't feel like I felt I was being pulled a lot in different directions, but I didn't think I was in that demand. But apparently I was, because it's been nonstop since then. It's been the day we arrived to the day we're leaving. Like, there's just been one thing after another, after another, after another, and then people just wanting to talk and wanting to know more about it. There's been multiple people that have reached out since then and said, like, hey, you guys are so unique, so different, so special. Please, like, don't change what you're doing. And so, yeah. Good morning. Happy Monday, CK.
Good morning, CK.
Your day to share with others. Creatives are awesome. Your day to share with others, or your day to be a sponge and soak it all up. Honestly, I love being a sponge at times. I know it doesn't seem like that, but like, even in my one speech, when I won, they said I have a minute to talk, and I didn't expect to win. Like, there were some pretty big companies there that I expected to be up in front of me, and everybody's like, no, your presentation, and then whatever. I turned around and I didn't know what to say. I guess I forgot to thank my team too, because I was up on stage and I'm just like, well, honestly, I wasn't expecting it, and it was fun. My one presentation, thank you. I try very hard. I would say that my one presentation was probably the most fun, because I got to break down barriers, and we're supposed to be talking about the digital cafe, and it got switched from Delight Digital to about CBD, because so many people had questions about CBD. And so it was kind of fun to watch, It was a lot of fun to watch people raise their hands, and I'd be like, yeah, how can I help you? It was also really cool to see people, because we were in two different conferences, and we were calling the rooms like the pink room and the blue room, because the pink room had the digital conference, the blue room had the other one, had the health conference. So depending on where I needed, when I won one of the awards, I was in the wrong room, and I'm getting calls and texts from all these people. They're like, you're in the wrong room. And I'm like, so I sprint over and all that. And I pop in, and I'm standing there smiling, and I'm like, hi. And like, it was hysterical to watch the stage. Like, they just started like laughing, and they're like, he's here. So it's nice to know that my personality can shine as good for my company, because that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, it's been great. It was great.
Yeah, I think that, over the course of the next month or so, we're going to be contacting people, and maybe we'll have some of those people actually as guests on the show and so forth. It was one of those events where, you get an opportunity to gravitate to those that are of similar mind set. And there was a lot of, because there was alternative medicine as part of the IFAH, whatever that was, International Federation of
Nope.
something or other.
International
Alternative
Forum.
Health, that was it.
Nope. International Forum for Advancement in Healthcare.
Okay, yeah, it was some kind of shit like that. But anyhow,
you talk. I'm gonna go grab my the trophies, because I'd love to show you guys this. I'm very proud of these.
Awesome.
Be right back. Go ahead, Brett.
So when you're at these shows, you never know who's going to be there. There were the people that were in the booths next to you could be software providers, or they're people that are focused on, building a bigger community via social media and so forth. So we got a chance to interact with everybody at a different level. And they got an exposure to what we are, not just from the Delight CBD, but from the Delight Digital Cafe. And they all thought that was a really cool thing, that it wasn't just that we were trying to sell a product, that it wasn't just the CBD, but we were trying to create a community of happiness and positivity as part of, trying to help others navigate life in a way that's going to be more beneficial to themselves, their families, and those around them. And people really enjoyed finding out more about the Delight Digital Cafe in that community, because it was something that was very focused on helping others beyond just trying to create or generate a profit. Mm-hmm. And that resonated really well with the people that came and talked to me specifically, especially because at my booth, even though I understand a good amount of the CBD benefits and so forth, I would always make sure, and I also had the banner for the Delight Digital Cafe. So I was always talking up what we do here on the show, how we run the show, how we have guests on the show, how we interact with our audience like CK and Jay Bird and Sherry and Mandy and everybody, because that is so important to being able to connect. And Brandon's presentation was all about how we connect. It was all about how being genuine enables you to connect at a level that you don't oftentimes see from just somebody in business. Right. And that what I thought was really important about what we were doing as well.
It was crucial. We showed that we're different. Brandon, the color of your shirt looks good on you. Oh, thanks, CK. I appreciate that. So won a couple awards. We'll do this. I'll just do it quickly.
Okay, you can't really see when you do it that way. That's one.
Hold on. I wish Joe was watching so I could make fun of him for tying this, because he tied these in here into like these huge knots, and now it doesn't come out easily. There we go. All right. This is trying to get the angle. That's not going to work. I have to do it. It's going to
be difficult because it reflects the light. But let's see. That's the technology award. So that's the Intercon
Technology Excellence in Technology Award, and our contribution to the tech future of business.
And that's really about Delight Digital Cafe and what we're trying to do with Delight Digital Cafe right here and now. So we also thank everybody out there, because it's without you, this show is not a show.
Correct. This is the one for me. It's one of the top healthcare leaders internationally with creativity and innovation.
So that's really about, bringing CBD to everybody in a different way than it's out there in most cases, without having it being in oils. And like I was saying, one of the great things about Delight is that it comes in packets where you always know you're getting 15 milligrams of CBD, where if you're doing oils or tinctures or things like that, you don't know if you're getting a hot shot or a not shot when you're taking an eyedropper full of oil-based suspension type CBD. And people really latched onto that because they also understood that you don't know when you've got things in suspension whether or not you're getting a nice even suspension or not. And that's the third one. What you got there, Big B?
This is for Delight Cafe CBD. This is for one of the top 50 healthcare companies in 2020/2021 for the USA. So being able to break different and be different as a healthcare provider without saying we're providing health options. We're just providing options for people to ask questions, find their best self, and know that what they're getting is going to be a healthy product. If you are looking to order, I see you there, Miss Sherry, or Miss CK Ford. I'm sorry, both of you, Sherry as well. It would be at www.delightcafe. There we go. I'm sending it there. You can order right there and be able to order online. It's even cooler because we've even set up a monthly membership subscription. So if you sign up, you can get $20 off a month by getting a year's worth of CBD, and they will come to you every month on the first of the month. You'll be able to get them. They'll be there. It's ready for you, and your CBD shows up ready for you to be able to find your balance throughout the month. Go to www.delightcafe.com and get your CBD for the person on the go.
Absolutely. And like I said, that was when we described what we do with the show with Java Delight every morning, with the positivity and happiness and discussions about life at the beginning, and then having the guests come on for the last half of the show from a lot of different arenas, but all focused on something that they're contributing that to the greater good, is really something that is unique. There are shows out there similar to that, but I think that the combination, and when people actually got a chance to meet us directly, they really enjoyed it. So that was pretty awesome. Thanks, CK.
So Brett, we haven't really talked about this. This is kind of spur of the moment. So I'm going to throw you under a bus here. What superhero are we supposed to be learning about this week?
Well, the cool thing is we actually did introduce it a little bit last week, but we knew that we weren't going to be able to do the show, the live show, a live interactive show on Thursday. So we're still, and I got to send out or find the link for that again, but we're doing Big Hero 6, and it's really about taking this character, Big Hero 6, and the actually a few of the characters in the movie, and really drawing out how innocence is such an important part of our life, and how sometimes as we get older, we lose our innocence. And when we do that, our belief systems start to put blinders on us. And when we have blinders on us, we don't get an opportunity to see the unconditional, unadulterated, unbiased view of things going on around us. It cuts off oftentimes opportunities to see alternatives to the way that we're dealing with life, to think outside of the box, because we're so deep in the box that we don't even see the walls to know that we're inside. And Correct. As a result, our actions are very limited because we only see this part of the world, and the world is all around us. The universe is all around us. The energy of what is available to us, that all we need is within us now. It's a matter of just opening up to be able to see that. And that's really got to do with innocence, because if you think about it, and when you watch the video, some of this will be in there, but Big Hero 6, if you haven't seen the movie, I'll tell you a little bit about it, but it's about an advanced medical or health robot, essentially, that is soft and cuddly and is there to just do whatever it takes until you feel that you've gotten the service that you needed, that you're happy with its service, And until then, it's going to continue to monitor you, to follow you, to do whatever it takes until you get the service that you recognize and acknowledge as satisfactory, which is something that we need to do in business and in life when we're interacting with people. It's not just okay, we're going to offer something today and then we're done with it and move on. I mean, that's the difference between Zappos, and actually a lot of Amazon has kind of incorporated this lately, and some other companies, but it's about really making sure that the customer receives the service they expect, not the service that you want
demand
to give them.
Yeah.
And in this innocence, so taking the innocence concept is, if you think about a baby has no preconceptions. A baby is basically a whiteboard with nothing written on it. And as a result, the baby just absorbs. The baby has no prejudice. The baby has no bias. The baby, there are a few things, especially in the human babies, that are kind of innate. I mean, they've pretty much shown that a baby does have the ability to perceive depth, like falling off of something. If you have them crawl across like a clear plexiglass thing over a table, and then it drops off, they do have some of that. But that's a little bit more advanced too. That's after they've got the ability to crawl and things along those lines. But in the meantime, that innocence is what gives them the ability to absorb whatever is around. They just absorb it. They don't place a value on it. They don't place a bias on it. They just accept it. And interestingly enough, one thing, okay, I'm going to go into something. When I was a kid, we used to go and collect papers for the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts would then recycle the papers. We'd take them down and get, money for the papers that we gathered from the neighbors and so forth in order to get them recycled. Well, one of the neighbors down the street, I actually called my mom and said, is it okay if we donate this huge Playboy collection for recycling? And my mom was like, okay. So we happened to sample those recyclables, and one of the things that stood out to me was there was a cartoon in there of a baby, and a baby with a very nicely shaped head, and an adult, and the baby looked so innocent in there. And then the next one showed an adult like putting a hammer and a saw and a chisel, and the head started getting all deformed from all of this stuff that was being put in there. And that is exactly what happens with a child. The child doesn't have these preconceptions, this prejudice, these things. It's a lot like Betamax, or Baymax, I should say, that is the medical caregiver robot that's in Big Hero 6. And he starts off being very innocent. That was kind of the programming that he received initially, was to be very innocent and very focused on nothing but helping people, helping the human race. But
sorry, I'm trying to crack my back.
Okay, no problem.
I just didn't want to be disrespectful and not think I wasn't listening.
No problem. That was like, that's kind of like when B-Max turns around.
Yep, that's me.
So, yeah, Jaybird, Betamax, VHS, Memorex, and the name of the robot here is Baymax. And the cool thing was, okay, so it showed this very innocent, nothing but help-driven robot that then, because of some events that happen in the movie, he gets reprogrammed to be more vengeful because the actual creator of the robot ends up getting killed, and his brother reprograms him to be able to be vengeful, which is kind of what I was just saying about a baby. A baby is fed information. A baby is fed these biases. A baby is fed these prejudices. A baby is fed belief systems that the baby doesn't even have the knowledge to be able to evaluate. It just accepts it.
Correct.
And then it takes action on those programs that are fed into the baby, just like fed into Baymax. And at that point in time, their actions can completely change from being the innocent, essentially caring or happy-go-lucky, innocent life to one that is got a very specific direction, a very specific emotion, but emotions are drawn from the belief systems and can turn ugly or can turn mean. And those are the types of things. And everything we perceive from that point on is based on that belief system, which means that even if somebody kind of approaches you quickly, you immediately think that they're trying to hurt you. That's not the case in a lot of cases. You know, different parts of the country tend to approach people differently. If you're in New York, there is a much more accepted, quick action, high intensity approach to meeting people, and they may oftentimes get in your space. It's not that they're trying to hurt you or to dominate you or anything. It just is what it is. But if you're from the Midwest and you experience that, you're like, whoa, wait a second. This is not my belief system. This is not how I was raised. So you immediately start to put up some defenses when in fact that is actually the opposite of what this person is trying to do. They're actually coming into your space as a way to introduce themselves, as a way to become a friend of you. But because it's different, you perceive their actions differently than they intended them.
Right.
So yeah, Jaybird, good stuff in, good stuff out.
You have to flow with the energy. So like being in the element, being in the energy. I think people are a lot like Bebop. I'm saying his name wrong. I know it too. I did it on purpose. I like Bebop.
Huh?
Nope. I like Bebop better. Because that way you push a button
we're going Bebop.
And he's like an MP3 player, then you whoop, and then all of a sudden he's playing music. Gavin's coming. He's just waking up. So he boom. So B-Max, right?
Yep.
Okay, not Bebop. Sorry guys, my brain is still not turned on. My mom and dad were making fun of me because they were asking me questions about the conferences and where I was presenting and how I was presenting and everything like that, and who I was getting into interview and stuff. And my parents were just madly into asking questions this morning, and I still could not get all my thoughts together. But B-Max is a lot like us. How many times do people start off genuine, start off wanting the best? How many times have you met someone and you're like, wow, I like this person, or oh, that's somebody I should like. I want to pay attention, see who they are. Like B-Max was something that was a robot and it grew to hate. Well, how many people have you ever done something nice for someone and the rebuttal back you get from people is, yeah, I used to be like that too. And like, yeah, you haven't seen the dark side of the world yet. Yeah, bullshit. I've seen the dark side of the world. I just choose not to be a part of it. And I'm trying to build an army of people that want to change the world for the better because it's just such a dark place. And Bebop is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I say it all the time is that, I am not religious. I do not, follow these religious beliefs, especially organized religion, what I do believe, I believe in people. And oftentimes when I say that, others look at me and they're like, you can't believe in people. They're liars. They're people, you know, they're out to do whatever it takes to make them better. And that is the type of attitude that actually creates this great animosity and divide in our population, in the way that we look at things, in the way that we look at, even when we talk about international interactions with Russia and the US and China, it all becomes us and them. And it's like they're trying to take advantage of you. And what I keep trying to present in a lot of the videos that we have for One Square at a Time is it's all about getting to the one-on-one and recognizing that 99% or 95 to 99% of what we want as individuals is common across all individuals. It's that 5% or that 1% difference that is used to drive wedges between societies, that actually create the wars that are very, very disempowering for humanity. And you know, it all depends on people's backgrounds and what they've experienced. Like CK is saying, you know, we military vets don't care for people that make quick, sudden movements into our space. And I think that is even that is somewhat of a generalization, because it depends on the experience that the military members had. If you were out in a combat situation, if you were in an intense situation, then you are definitely going to be much more situationally aware. And this is what I talk about. Also, when you're talking about BMAX, it's about being situationally aware. And when people come into your space rapidly, your immediate response is potential danger. And I back off and I take a very defensive approach, which could also trigger different actions, including what are oftentimes considered to be PTSD type actions, where the response can be violent. That happens if you wake somebody up. I know when I was in charge of the passenger terminal at Dover Air Force Base, the one thing that people would do when they're sitting in there for days for space available is they may fall asleep in the terminal. And sometimes they were actually kind of living there for days, which was not something that was acceptable. We couldn't let them do that. But when you try to wake somebody up, you don't want to be standing in front of them when you do that. You're likely going to get punched or have some, you've got to be off to the side, and you've got to be very careful on how you wake people up, because you can get a violent response. Sir.
I swing sometimes.
Yeah.
So two things. One, have you seen Big Hero 6, Gavin?
Yeah.
That's who he's talking about.
Okay.
While Jaybird's over here singing to us, he's like, Hanson, bop. Bop. So, Gavin, we touched base about the conference and all that already. I showed the awards and everything. Brett was explaining a few things. Tell everybody your opinion of how everything went. How the drive of you and I being in the car for like 60 plus hours together, and a tornado. We had a tornado. And then I will let you guys take over. You can hear Gavin and I are still recovering. That's why he was a little off today. Gavin got home at midnight. I got home at like 1. He's going to take the second half of today, because the truth is I need to go shower. I haven't showered in about like 80 hours. So I smell, and I can smell myself. So CK, when you said this shirt looks good on me, thank you. But
looks
Gavin,
good, but not smell good.
Yeah, I look good. Be glad this isn't smell-o-vision. But Gavin, tell everybody about what your opinions were and of the conference and all that, and then do us a favor and tell everybody about your thoughts on Big Hero 6 and how it might influence people from being he was a good robot to a bad robot, and how that matches people with growing mean. Oh my God, I'm sorry, I burped.
You're good. Yeah, I think I'm about to sneeze, so it's all right. We're both excreting different gases from our bodies.
I keep coughing, dude. I have like so much Mucinex in me right now.
There
Like
it is.
I think I'm just a walking Mucinex pill right now.
Yeah, we're both just deteriorating live on screen right now. It's a good time. I hope everyone's enjoying. As far as the conference went, in all honesty, I don't think it could have gotten better. I know that I made a couple. Not only personal contacts and connections, but a couple friends while I was there. There was a lot of really, really amazing, intelligent, sweet people at this conference. I know for the company, oh my God, that was absolutely amazing as far as talking to people, showing them the product. For me, the business aspect did not stop once the conferences were over. You can ask Brandon. I was handing out cards and stuff and like samples to the waitresses on the way back and the waiting staff at restaurants when we were driving back home, to the guy at the ticket toll booth. And I was giving him my business card, like, oh yeah, this is our company, this is what we do.
That's right.
Like, yeah, but like it did not stop for me. No matter where we were, I was in I was ready to tell people about the product. I was in business mode. I was ready to get us out there. And
he was so excited for business cards, guys. Like, I think I know from now on what I'm getting him is like business cards for birthday, Christmas. It doesn't even have to have anything on it. It's just something to hand to people. Like, he was so excited. Like, driving through, my favorite, that we're stuck at the paying for the toll right to get into Ohio. And Gavin's like, how's your night going? The guy's like, what did he say? Like, living the dream.
Living the dream, yeah.
But then he said something about hell. Like, it just seems like the pits of hell or something like that. He made some.
I didn't catch that.
He made some comment because your rebuttal back was, yeah, we're driving back from Vegas, and then you gave him your business card, and I thought that was so great. I have to compliment both of you before, because I am going to bounce in about 5 minutes, guys. I need to. My stomach is bothering me, and I'm doing everything I can to stay alive.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Brett, you're going to be taking the controls themselves then. I'm on my phone right now. My DJ boss has my laptop that he took for while I was gone. But no, you're good, Brandon. Go do what you got to do. It was a rough drive. Brandon and I realized really quick that the first 4 states driving there are nothing. So easy. We got right through them. It seemed like it took like an hour to get through them, and then we got to Utah. Once we got to Utah, it took forever. It felt like we could never get out of Utah. Even when we got into Colorado, it still felt like we were in Utah until we really hit the mountains. So that was definitely. Oh, he's got pictures.
Well, here's what I did. I put the back seat down and Gavin knows this. He saw it, and we would be. I made it like my own little hammock area. And you could lay back and look at this. I'm laying back, and my feet are over the passenger seat, and you can see all with the windows. And it was spectacularly beautiful. It made for both of us to be able to relax during our drive. My favorite part. Can you guys see this? All the pictures Joe took of me holding stuff.
Yeah.
You ready? This is my favorite part of the entire conference, when Brett insisted he was awake, and I was taking pictures of him sleeping. And then somebody walked up to me and asked me a question. Oops, that's not the button I want. Asked me if Gavin was related to anybody, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" And I didn't get it. And then somebody said, "Yeah, he looks just like Screech from Saved by the Bell," and that's when we realized he did. So we started making memes of him, and people were just having a ball with us. We had so much fun. Joe, how did I know Joe would show up the moment I show the picture of Brett sleeping?
I remember I was walking with Joseph when I got that picture. Somebody texted it to me. Me and Screech. Yeah.
It was me. I texted to you because I was having too much fun with it. I'm trying to find the one I wanted to show you guys. Here, this is a good one. Boop. And then we'll get back to Brett. See, all this beauty, right? And we have all these packs of delight helping Gavin and I make sure we don't kill people on the road, because people are nutty drivers. I guess if I was to ask one question to the audience today, other than Big Hero 6, tell me what state you hate to drive in.
Now, because of the terrain or because of the people? Like, are you saying what state is the worst to drive in, or what state has the worst drivers?
You could do both. Like, I think
Okay.
Colorado and Utah were hard to drive it. I can't laugh.
Welcome back.
I think Colorado.
Welcome back, Coffer.
Colorado and Utah were rough to drive through because of the hills and the mountains. Gavin fell asleep. I had the windows open and the sunroof open, and it was like 70-some degrees.
Yeah.
And then by the time I got to the bottom of the mountain in Colorado, I was shutting the windows and there was actually snow.
Yeah.
Really?
It got really cold really fast.
Yeah. But I would say driving-wise, Indiana. I absolutely hate Indiana drivers. And Gavin didn't understand what I was saying, and then I had him drive in Indiana. Once we were close enough, I'm like, "You're doing Illinois and Indiana," and he takes over. He's like, "Why is everybody all over my butt?" And then I move out of their way, and they pass me. They don't. And they're like aggressive, and then they don't pass your ass, and you're like, "Mother."
Hey, Brandon, have you heard about Delight? It's an odorless, colorless, tasteless CBD product for all your anxiety.
I really appreciate that. No, Gavin, before you answer that, tell everybody about the girl who was yelling at everybody and how you walked. Like, she yelled about the food. Like, this was a great story. And then you guys can go off on your tangents. I'm going to be listening in the background. I need to go take care of Brandon because I got
you are
home
good.
I feel you guys can hear my coughs. I love every single person that's here. Joe, it's such a great time to see you. I saw your text. CK, Jaybird. I know our audience missed us last week. Gavin and I talked about that on the drive home. We missed you guys, like, for real. We don't just uplift you guys. You guys uplift us. So please know we thank you guys. I will let you guys take over. I'm gonna
go do what you gotta do, man.
I think I'm gonna go throw up.
Oh geez, drink some water. After you throw up, drink some water. Rinse your mouth out so it doesn't eat away your enamel. He's gone. Anyway, as for the woman screaming, so we had catering there. As Brett knows, we had full catering there, snacks and lunch during all these breaks. But something happened with the scheduling where they were bringing out all this food for lunch while everybody was still in the meetings. And then they take it away like halfway through people getting out. So there was a bunch of people not getting fed. There was a bunch of people, not getting what they wanted. And it got progressively worse. Pardon me. I'm still adjusting to the time. It got progressively worse as the days went on. The food was phenomenal, though. Oh, the food was so good. I always made sure that I got there like as they were pulling it out. Like I basically carried the food out with them. I was like, I need to get in line. My tummy's got the rumblies. Let's go. And
I never saw anybody chase the tables like you did.
Oh yeah. Oh, I was all over that. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, apples and peanut butter. Let's go. Like it didn't matter what it was. I was hungry. But the last day they pull the food away. Probably, I don't know, I'd say maybe like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, not tops, after they bring it out. And so there's a bunch of people that didn't get fed. I saw a grown man look like he was ready to cry because he didn't get a brownie. He literally did. Remember, have you seen the Lorax?
Yeah.
Remember the tiniest bear with those big, adorable brown eyes? That's how he looked. He just looked sad with these big, brownie. It was just so, and he stood there. He just stood there and just watched, and just like his world just fell around him. But there was a woman, very, very, very tenacious, very courageous woman, who was not having it. Oh my God, he starts yelling at him, saying like, "Why are you taking the food away? What are you doing with it?" Like she knows they're throwing it away, and so she gets up on a chair and starts yelling, and is just all pissed off, starts yelling about how they're taking away the food because they met their quota. It's rich people bullshit. It's so wasteful. There's plenty of people who haven't eaten. Like, this is what's wrong, blah, blah, blah. And just goes on this huge tirade. And she was right. I'll give her that. And I even went up to her. I told her, I was like, hey, you're completely right. Like, this is what happened. Because she was right with everything she was saying. I agreed with it completely. Because even though I got a plate, I was ready to get seconds. I was hungry. And I know that they're not doing anything with that food. Like, they're not donating it or anything, as far as I'm concerned. And no one has yet to correct me, both right now and at the convention. So I'm going to continue to assume, which is just an assumption. But anyway, I go up to her and I straight up to her, I'm like, hey, I want to let you know I completely agree with you. Thank you so much for standing up and standing out and saying and doing that. Here's some CBD. It's Delight. But I didn't give her the full-on elevator pitch because I wasn't trying to make a sale to her. I was being genuine about it. I tell her, hey, look, this is the product. Keep doing what you're doing. This isn't going to slow you down. Keep fighting. Keep talking to people. Keep trying to find a solution. This is going to make sure that you don't go crazy while you do it. This is going to make sure that you are able to continue to fight with a clear mind. They're continuing to work on your goals with a clear mind. And that's what I want you to do. And she was so grateful about it. She took it, came over to me. This is probably the best part of the entire trip, in all honesty, was that we had so many people who had really bad anxiety or really bad depression, or they had some kind of, we had a lot of people with like health issues, like Joe, not F Joe, but Joseph, a photographer who was there. Absolutely amazing man. Definitely good people. He has a torn meniscus. So he took one of the packets, came back in 10 minutes and bought 6 boxes. Like, that was the most amazing thing to me. Was being able to have our product there and people seeing it right then and there, and then them not only being able to use it right then and there, but then come back to me shortly after and say, hey, this is amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. In fact, I'm going to be connecting with one of the guys that I met there, and he was a vet from Iraq, Afghanistan, combat missions, and he had been taking CBD and other things along with all the drugs that the psychologist gave. And Erin, we see in the background, and we'll be there just shortly. But he took 1 packet of Delight CBD, and he said he immediately felt a difference. And I'm going to be connecting with him because I really want to be able to take that, testimonial that, and see what I can do with him to get more exposure to combat vets and vets that are experiencing PTSD and things along those lines. I see CK, really appreciate your service. Desert Storm is a time when I was also active duty. And, I did not end up going to combat because my commander wanted me to stay in case we deployed the Marines off of Okinawa. But all those that did go, the one thing that is not understood oftentimes is that, you don't have to experience combat to experience intense situations. Yeah. And you could be support of those combat operations and experience some challenging things that can be taken in many different ways. I mean, some people are more prone to being able to accept and process, and some people say compartmentalize, which I think is not really true, but they are able to deal with it in a different way than others. But the CBD, Delight CBD, helped this guy right away. Just like you mentioned for Joe and his knee. And that is the kind of community that we want to continue to build out and help others through what we offer, not only from the Delight CBD, but also from Delight Digital Cafe and Java Delight. And with that, we are going to be moving into the next part of our show. We have Erin Cronican, and hopefully I pronounced that halfway close. Erin is an award-winning actor, director, and producer, and is executive artistic director of the Seeing Place Theater, social justice theater ensemble in New York City. Erin is also a progressive activist, using her voice and the theater to take action in support of the underserved communities, including women, immigrants, BIPOC, which we'll ask her more about that when we get on there, and the LGBTQIA plus, and people with disabilities and chronic illnesses. Erin is committed to creating a lasting legacy as someone with stage 4 breast cancer. So with that, wow, we will be bringing Erin on board just right after this. Good morning, Erin. How are you doing?
Good morning, Erin. How are we?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Excellent.
We're recovering.
Good.
Yeah, and not from crazy parties or anything like that. Recovering from a 30-hour drive.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Well, It's good that you're nice and settled. Then thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much for being on. It's a pleasure to have you. So
absolutely.
I want to talk to you about you are very, very heavily involved in theater and in specifically helping out different groups that have, I'd say, just have struggles expressing themselves in society in general in theater. What made you want to pursue this path? What made you want to pursue this career path and this specific one? Like, how'd you go about searching out, helping, minorities in any way, so that way they could express themselves on stage?
Yeah, it started because we, as a theater company, really like to focus on what's happening in the here and now. We started to notice that there were a lot of things happening in the community that weren't being expressed in art. And we have this little tiny piece of the market as a small theater company. And so what can we do to try to bring those stories to life as best we can? It's important to me as just a human being, a fellow human being, to be able to bring those to life, but also for the community as well.
Yeah. So are you choosing shows that typically have majority LGBT plus cast or majority African American cast, or are you choosing whatever show you want to and then just casting it that way?
Exactly. So what we're doing is we have a permanent ensemble, and that ensemble is comprised of all of those communities. And so when we do shows, we seek out scripts that will accommodate those kinds of people. So we have done plays like Sweat by Lynn Nottage. We just, today is our last day of streaming on a Pride play that we wrote that is majority LGBTQ people. It's been very, very exciting. It's an exciting time to be expressing oneself through theater, although it's been hard, obviously, through the pandemic, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, during the pandemic, were you able to even do any shows or have an audience, or did you do the shows and then live stream them or record them?
Yeah, what we ended up doing was we just used the Zoom platform to do shows live and in the moment, and then we would record the live show and stream it. Nice. So we just kind of moved everything onto Zoom, which worked really well. We started a series that we call Ripple for Change, which is this idea you want to be a pebble in the water to make a ripple for change.
Perfect.
And what we do is we pick a play that has a social justice theme of something that's going on right now. And then we pick a nonprofit organization that is working within that space that are reflected in the themes of the play. So this LGBTQ play that we're doing right now is benefiting the Audre Lorde Project, which is an LGBTQ organization for people of color. And so all of the ticket proceeds that we have from this series go directly toward those nonprofits. So far we've raised thousands of dollars for other nonprofit social justice organizations, which kept us alive and keeping our audience happy throughout the pandemic.
Did you find by being able to go to the Zoom platform and so forth that you actually were able to expand your audience beyond maybe what would have come to the theater, or even, have access to the theater?
Absolutely. It's expanded our reach, not only geographically, so people, family members and friends from other cities can watch, but also it's expanded our accessibility for those who normally can't go to the theater. I was just speaking with someone who has a vascular disease, where if she sits for any more than 30 minutes at a time, then she'll have a lot of pain, and a lot of like inflammation in all of all the veins and arteries in her body and all the capillaries. And so it causes this extreme pain. And so she cannot go to the theater, even though she loves the theater and wishes that she could. But when it streams at home, she can pause, get up, stretch, walk around, sit back down. And it's expanded the access for a lot of people with disabilities.
Well, that's awesome. And I think that's something that, oftentimes we think that, this whole pandemic thing has been a negative, and yet there's a lot of positives like that, like you're just explaining here, with the exposure to audiences that may not have been able to ever come and see the theater, we're able to now be able to do so. So I think those are some things that we need to focus on as we're trying to bring ourselves out of the pandemic and bring ourselves back into the world. And not only that, now you can even do live theater for those that can come to the theater and have that live audience, but at the same time, be able to live stream to people that aren't able to come.
Exactly. So we're hoping that all of the many unions that govern how theater is created, we're hoping that they can all come together and create some sort of plan that would be a post-pandemic streaming plan, because it's been a little complicated throughout the pandemic. Traditionally, unions move very slowly on behalf of their members because they want to make sure that these contracts are good and solid, so they don't make very quick decisions. And the pandemic has forced a lot of quick decision making. So we hope that by the end of the year, there'll be something in place when Broadway opens up and when the rest of the small theaters will open up, that will have some streaming options in place.
Now, do you think when everything does open back up that because you've been doing these streaming options, it'll cause more or less people to join in and come see the actual in-person shows?
I think it'll cause them to come more frequently. Even if they were to see it on Zoom. I don't know if you've had this experience, if any of you have watched Hamilton on Disney Plus, but
a couple times.
It makes me want to go into the theater and experience it live.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with sports, right? If you put sports on a screen, will you want to actually go to the ballpark and watch a baseball game or watch a football game? And I think the answer is yes, because it's a special in-person experience. So we're not too worried about diluting our live audience by doing live streams.
Gotcha. Absolutely. No, I understand that logic. I agree with it as well. I remember the first time that I saw a professional Broadway show on a screen, I was very confused because my mother and I were going to Cleveland area, or no, we were going to Akron, and that's why I was so confused. So like, this is really weird that this show is playing on a big stage in Akron, because it was Newsies, and it was the original cast, and I was very excited to go see it. It was my mother's favorite musical. It was one of the first ones I was introduced to, and we got there, and it was a huge movie theater, and they were playing it live on the screen. And I thought to myself, yeah, it was similar to how Hamilton was. And I remember watching it, and I was absolutely taken away by it. But the whole time I just kept thinking, wow, imagine if they were actually here. Imagine if I could actually see them. That would be something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about what you do. Is it just theater, and if it is, then how extensive do you get into it? How long have you been doing theater?
I've been doing theater since the age of 9, so many years. And I got my degree in theater in college. So I've been doing it for quite a while. I do more than just with my theater company. I'm also a musical theater performer. So I'll do musicals outside of the theater company that I work with. It's been a wild ride because everything, of course, shut down during the pandemic. So the shows that I was working on that were long-term shows got completely closed. And so the only thing that I've been doing for the last 15 or 16 months is with my theater company.
Wow. Anytime that I hear somebody, or typically when you hear people, because I loved theater. I was a theater kid all throughout middle school and high school. But every time that I talk to like a family or a friend about like how much I enjoyed it, they would always say, "Oh, so what are you going to do as a career? What are you going to do as a job?" And that was always discouraging because, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I've always wanted to be an entertainer. And, people, they tend to be very skeptical and negative about that, have a negative mindset about it. Oh, so what's your fallback? What's your real job going to be is what they ask us.
What's your real job going to be? Yep.
Yeah, but then at the same time, they ask that because it is extremely difficult to make it in this field. Like you said, you took it in college, theater. You got your degree and everything. So even though there are classes for it, there's no real guarantee that you'll make it in it. What do you believe separated you from all the people who didn't get to where you are?
I probably tenacity and a little bit of craziness. But I think that it's possible for everyone to have some sort of career in the theater, but most of us have to have some sort of supportive day job. So for me, I created a career coaching business for actors where I teach the business of acting to people. And so that would be supporting my career as an actor. But there are a lot of supportive careers, and it's actually quite wonderful to have things that are outside of the theater that will enrich your life, and then you can bring that to your work.
Yeah. Gotcha. No,
I just,
you're good, bro.
As you're showing this, is there anything specific on like the seeingplacetheater.com that people should really go? I'm trying to just kind of hit on, like your philosophies and things like that. And I see that not only are you a director, but you're the president on the board of directors.
Mm-hmm.
So looks like you may have a little bit of influence as to what's going on with the theater there.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I equally run the theater company with my partner, both in the theater company and also in life. B. Walker, and we're both co-artistic directors. They are the producing artistic director, and I'm the executive artistic director. So we split the work pretty much 50-50 down the middle.
Awesome. Well, looks amazing, and I did put that put the website out into our comment section so everybody can.
Thank you. Oh, I so appreciate that.
No problem.
You said that you split everything 50-50. How did you two meet, and how did you go about setting everything up?
We met originally in San Diego, where we're both from, just being part of the theater industry there. I moved to New York in 2005, and they followed suit in 2007. And so we became fast friends, just being San Diego theater kids in the big city.
Yeah.
And in 2009, they came to me and said, I have this idea for a theater company, and I'm wondering if you want to be in it. And initially I said no. I was like, it's going to be way too much work. I don't know if I have the time. But I was really, I've always been very impressed and inspired by B, and, wanted to be a part of whatever they were doing. And so I did join the theater company as it got created in 2009. And then I stepped up to a leadership role in 2011.
Nice.
And that's the role that I have now.
Congratulations. So that's awesome.
Thank you. So we're coming up on 12 years here in August, which is very exciting.
That's really amazing. How long did it take though before you really saw any kind of payback from that?
Well, it's like we get a little bit of payback every single year because we keep growing in small incremental ways. So last year during the pandemic, we finally had a New York Times review, and it took 10 years for us to get there. because the New York Times normally does not review smaller shows. But because of the pandemic, it didn't seem like a smaller show. We were equalized with all of the other shows that were coming out on Zoom. And so, that was very exciting. We had both the New York Times and the Washington Post out to see this current show that is streaming right now on our website. And so that's, another step up for us to have 2 major publications coming out for us. And just, the more high profile people coming to see the show, us expanding our audience, we're doing the best that we can to do that. There are a lot of things that people can do with their time in New York City. So we're very grateful when people choose to spend it with us.
No, absolutely. It's definitely, it's a very big business. It's a very expensive city, but even if you don't have any money, you can always just walk around and look at stuff. Like they definitely have more than enough there for you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that, you say, it took 10 years for us to get in the New York Times. It took you this long because one of the things that people don't realize, anytime you're doing a company or your own business, you have a project going on, it takes time. And it takes patience. A lot of times you see people when they're on their highest points. They're at the top, and you think, "Wow, I knew them." It seems like just a couple years ago I knew them, and they were, working flipping burgers, and now look at them. They're way up there doing all these crazy things. It's like, yeah, but you didn't see all the struggle they went through. You didn't see all the work that they had to put in. You didn't see the behind the stage, the set builds, the programming, the lights, the memorizing the scripts.
Yeah, the joke is, I'm sure in your business as well, that it took 10 years to become an overnight sensation.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
go ahead.
You're good, Brett. I keep freezing in and out right now, so you're good.
All right. So one of the communities that I didn't even know that there was this acronym was the BIPOC, which was I now see Black, Indigenous, and other people of color. That was new to me. I didn't know about that until just now when I was reading your bio. That there was actually an organization around that or a community around that. I've always talked a lot about the Indigenous communities, especially Black and Indigenous communities, because of my girlfriend has actually got Hispanic and Native American heritage. So, being able to really bring those communities together in theater, especially when you're portraying somebody that is from that community. So, for instance, you're not taking somebody that is from another culture and having them represent Indigenous person or somebody in the Black community or the Hispanic community, and changing the person and actually honoring their heritage through the actual actors and performers for that.
I think that's the first step, is to make sure that there's appropriate representation on stage and on screen. But I think also the next step is to start to open up the roles that we thought of perhaps in the past as being predominantly white, and saying, what would it be like if a person of color plays that role instead? And it's not really about them taking roles away from white people, but us reimagining what does a multicultural society look like? And particularly in a city like New York, which is, homogenized with so many different cultures. It's just, they've all, you can throw a stone and hear 5 different dialects or 5 different languages. And Absolutely. How do we make sure that those people are represented on our stages as well? And also people with disabilities who consistently are not playing themselves on screen. You see people who are able-bodied or not disabled or not neurodivergent. The neurotypical people will be playing these other neurodivergent roles. And so making space for them to play themselves and then allowing that self to then play other roles is I think, very important.
Yeah. Well, I think, and you mentioned it earlier, Hamilton is an absolutely wonderful example of that sort of reimagining of switching up what the people actually were as far as race goes versus what they could be for casting. You know, some of the like George Washington. I don't know the names of any of the actors, but George Washington was played by a black man, and he did an absolutely phenomenal job. Just the way that is, the warmth to his voice just had a really nice "I'm leading America" vibe to it.
Yeah, that was Christopher Jackson.
Christopher Jackson. Oh my God, yeah, absolutely beautiful singer. Very, very, very strong, statured man. Like I honestly, I remember I was at one of the bathrooms at the gas station, and I'm just taking a break from this drive, and I'm flipping through Facebook and stuff. I was literally thinking about that because I was listening to a lot of musicals on the way home, and I was thinking like, damn, you know what? I can't see anybody else being cast as the people who are cast in Hamilton.
Like, so now it's a thing. They have multiple tours all around the country, and some of the people from Broadway will take the tours. But other than that, there are many, many, many other people who can fulfill those roles, but they have that same look, which is so exciting. And so it's created quite a lot of diversity on the stages, and it also is proven that projects that are predominantly people of color can make money on Broadway, because there is some question about that. Well, maybe audiences won't accept that. Well, they will, and they have.
I think that there's, you know, even as we were talking before you came on the show, we were talking about how we do this show called One Square at a Time, and the show that we dropped this week, our review is on Big Hero 6, and it's got to do with biases that people don't recognize that they even have.
Right.
And being able to recognize that it's a matter of exposure to opening up yourself beyond the box that you live in to really see the broad spectrum. I always say we live in an infinite spectrum of energy, both visible and invisible. And to be able to bring those colors to light, to be able to bring those to shine on screen and off is really the direction that we need to go as we start to recognize that it is not a black and white community. It is not a red and blue community. It is a spectrum of colors that we live in, and we need to appreciate all of those and respect all of those. And with that, we will be a much tighter community, and we'll break down many of these false divisions that we've created and has been part of our history without even recognizing that those are being passed along to generations and generations.
Right. Those systems are just set up that way. And so we need to break down the system so that people can be more connected to one another instead of being drawn apart.
Right. And I think, you know, breaking down the systems and breaking down just the belief systems and questioning belief systems and being able to, you know, have something like Hamilton where you come on stage and you see, you know, different colors representing something that you might otherwise have expected. Those types of things, whether it be even going back to roots and how that actually was something that was really radical at the time and yet was extremely popular, and I think really brought out the value of actively looking at, you know, history and culture and what happened, and then, you know, in a more realistic and honest approach. So I applaud you for what you're doing and how you're able to do that and continue along that journey. And, you know, it's interesting. I've even been reading, you know, if you go back and you take a look at a lot of the old Disney cartoons, they had these stereotypes that were in there. But now Disney is actively monitoring, and they have analytics to look at, you know, how many lines have different people of color had on the new shows, you know, male and female roles and all that, to try to begin to use AI actually to identify when there's biases that may not have been understood, even when it's casting it or putting, you know, building the screenplays.
Now, I know, Erin, you're doing what you're doing because you genuinely care and love and want to make sure that equal representation is happening. But the question I have for you two is, with Disney going so far as to have analytics and AI to make sure that everybody is getting equal, do you think they're doing that because they truly care? Or do you think they're doing that to try to make sure they cover their ass in every way possible so they don't get torn apart on the internet because they have those racist origins?
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, corporations are there to make money. So I think there's a recognition that there's an audience out there. And but Disney is also run by people. And so there are a lot of people within the organization who truly care. But as a corporation, I think it's advantageous to make sure that you are being equitable in this day and age.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, I agree, to be perfectly honest, I always say follow the money and follow the control. Absolutely. But sometimes it really doesn't matter what that driver is. If it's actually promoting something that is going to be advantageous to humanity, even if the driver may have been dollars, the message that's going to come across because of that is going to be more inclusive.
Yeah, I think so. And also encourage other companies to use the same AI. If Disney's using it, then others can use it. Yeah, it's absolutely the same thing
when we're talking about trying to be, helpful to the environment.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guarantee that when these companies are doing these changes for the environment, they're also looking at what it means to their bottom line.
Right.
So it doesn't necessarily mean that, they can be doing it for the profit reason, but if they're still making progress in terms of helping the environment, so be it.
Right. Absolutely. I think we find that with most social justice causes, the change really has to start from the systemically, and then it can filter down to those of us who are, on the ground in the grassroots organizations. And then the grassroots are also putting the pressure on the upper groups as well.
Absolutely. Another thing I wanted to get into, because I noticed this in your bio, is creating a lasting legacy as someone with stage 4 breast cancer.
Yeah.
So you currently have stage 4 breast cancer, is that right?
I do. That's correct. I know I don't look at people who have metastatic disease. Often don't look like they are ill because they're on regimens that are, fighting to keep them alive for as long as possible. And once you're stage 4, they don't attack it as aggressively. They look at it more systemically. How can we extend your life as long as possible and also have the best quality of life while doing so? Whereas when you're stage 1 or 2, they're going to give you a chemo that's just about going to take you to the edge because they want to prevent it from happening again.
Right. Yeah. My sister had, I think, stage 2 metastatic breast cancer, and she went through and had a radical double mastectomy, and also they took out like 19 lymph nodes.
Oh my goodness!
In trying to control it, as well as the chemo and so forth. But being one of the things that my sister has learned from that as well is that a part of the contributing factor for the expression was also the stress that she had in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she's been actively really trying to approach that aspect as well. And that can be done in many different ways, including being able to be, building a legacy and doing what you're doing in the theater and being able to contribute and the positivity that brings internally. Have you experienced that type of thing as well?
Well, I think, yes, I think I tend to be a positive person in general. But being able to have something to focus on makes it a lot easier, because a diagnosis like this, when you get told that the prognosis is 3 to 5 years and you're a young person, that is extremely jarring. So you start to think like, well, what is my life for then? If I'm not going to live to the ripe old age of, 70, 80 years old, what am I going to do now? I can't just languish away and like pretend like my life isn't meaningful. So it's been, it's hard to stay positive when you have a diagnosis like that, but I just find that focusing on things that matter to me make a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Gavin was having some trouble with his connection.
Yes.
So he'll probably pop back in here. But yeah, I know that my sister, even though she's 50, let me see, I'm 58, so she's 56, and she's got a son that's 13 and a daughter that's 8.
Mm-hmm.
So she's got, the children that she's really trying to make sure that she can extend, her life to hopefully match, what would be the lives of the kids, as far as she would normally be able to do. And she's gone to alternative type treatments and so forth, and different energy frequency type devices and all that stuff to try and work things from a more holistic and natural perspective than just some of the allopathic treatments that are oftentimes available.
Right.
So I know this could be a difficult thing to talk about. I don't know, I want to let you choose, how far or not how far.
I'm open to any questions that you might have. So
yeah, absolutely.
I'm pretty open.
So I'm very curious on what your grieving process has been with all this. Everybody has a clock on them, but yours has now been shown to you. So how have you been processing it? I'm sure you have waves that come and go where you kind of reflect on it again, but how have you been dealing with it?
Yeah, well, luckily I have a very good therapist. So that's number one, having someone to talk to who is, paid to be neutral and obviously cares, but it makes it a lot easier that I'm not taking care of her feelings at the same time that I'm trying to deal with my own.
Yeah.
So that's very helpful. It just comes and goes. Like you said, there'll be things that I'll notice, an older couple walking down the street and I'll start to think, oh, wait, that's never going to be me. Or someone says, what's your 5-year plan? And the only thing I can think of is, am I going to be alive in 5 years? Yeah. I don't know. So those are really like, or, people who will say things like, oh, you're strong, you'll beat this. But they don't recognize that it is not a matter of strength. It's a matter of, this is something that a cancer has traveled through the body and is already settled into vital organs. And so the best that doctors can do is try to kill off those tumors, but it's still in the bloodstream. It's still going to continue to show up. And so you just hope that the science is one step ahead of you, and that when something fails, because that's what's kind of unfortunate about everything. I was on one chemo treatment for 2.25 years, 26 months, 27 months. And it was working great until it wasn't. And then all of a sudden I had tumors in my bones again. And then I moved to a new chemo, and now I have brain tumors as well. And so that chemo is not working. So we might have to switch to something else, and I'm going to have more radiation. And, so we just take it. I'm like living scan to scan, just like I've got 3 months to live to the next scan. And what can I do in those 3 months?
Okay. What's stopping you then from just taking out a bunch of loans from the bank, credit cards, and just blowing out any type of funding that you can possibly get, going and just spending your life on vacation?
I would have been traveling this whole time. I had been feeling pretty good.
You can travel now.
Now I can travel. That's true.
Now you can travel. Yes. Yeah.
But now
so what's stopping
you? And my theater company.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So because
you don't have like an understudy or anything yet?
Not for the management of the company. For the acting, yes, but that's why I'm doing it, is because I get to act, and that's the thing that I love more than anything. Well, so I produce things to do that. But yeah, no, that's a very good point. And I think a lot of people want to do that, but you also have to think about your finances. Like, what if I do live past that 5-year mark?
Yeah.
What do I do then? I have no money and I have all these loans. So, it's really unfair is what it is. It's like you would think you could just blow it out and take a bunch of loans, and then when you die, then those loans go away and no big deal. But no.
Yeah, it's it's, first of all, having the theater and so forth, it seems, that there's this higher power that you're actually working with there in order to be able to really not only live and, you can still thrive during this time.
Yes.
And through that, you're building, like you were saying, the legacy. And that's what I always try to impress upon people, is that how we act, however long that is, how we interact with others lives on forever.
Yeah.
And being able to have that higher meaning, or that higher power that we're striving to build or achieve is really critical, and being able to maintain that mental attitude and perseverance and so forth to come through. And the other thing is, there's no such thing as an expiration date for people.
No.
And I think my sister talks about having her cancer coach, which is different than, a therapist per se. It's somebody who's been through the challenges and then can relate better to you as you're going through some of the things that you're going through. And having that type of support and higher power direction that you're going, I think are all phenomenal. And being able to, recognize that it's not being a survivor as much as you can actually thrive because of some of the things that you're going through. You may not have had the energy and direction and so forth with the intensity that you may have if you weren't experiencing some of these other things. And I know that from somebody else who was told she was going to die, and she's now 20 years beyond her expiration date, according to the doctors. And, she is now, in a very spiritual community where she's helping others. So I again applaud you for what you're doing and your focus and how you're helping a totally different and broader community than, as well as I'm sure the community that you're a part of, just being somebody with cancer.
I feel like you should get an annual. You should get like an annual kind of payments. If the doctor came to you, Erin, and said, you got 3 months to live, well then every birthday that you make it after that 3 months,
that's right,
you should get like a $500 something.
Exactly.
Like
it's
a check
like
or something
tokens.
Yeah,
like
you pass go again, $200, please. Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is how Monopoly works. I know the game. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this should be.
I think that should be for everyone in life. You make it next to the next level. You make it to 58. You make it to 59. Okay, great. So you get, bucks from that.
It's like my dad now. He's 85 years old, and he doesn't have any major issues. But what he does is he says, "Okay, well, the doctor just said that I got to come back in 3 months, so I know I'm going to live for at least 3 months more."
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it's like. And I still don't know how much time I have. I just know that more acutely than someone else. That's a question that I have, that I live every day. How much longer? Whereas most people, that's the same question, but they don't live with that question in their head every day.
So it's just like not only do you know,
he said that, he lives with a brain tumor and is lucky that it was operated on early in life, but it's still something that concerns him. So,
yes,
he's really grateful for your perspective as well.
I'm grateful for your perspective, Jacob. That must be so difficult to just wonder if that's ever going to come back, or if it's, every little feeling that you have, you're like, oh, is that the brain tumor? Is that just a headache?
Right.
Well, not only do you know do you have an approximation of when, but you also have a pretty good prediction on how. So then I'm curious, would you choose if somebody came to you and they said, I can guarantee you the answer to one of these questions, would you choose to know when or how you're going to die?
Neither. I don't want to know anything. I want to live my life blissfully ignorant. Oh yeah. Because I'm also someone who already lives life to the fullest. So I don't need this sort of outside pressure to make me do that. There may be some people where that's the case. But of those two, to be fair, I think I'd rather know when than how.
Yeah.
Because then I would just be so paranoid.
Oh, I would definitely want to know. I definitely want to know when, just so that way I could like plan and lead up to it to make it some big phenomenal thing. Just have a party going on and stuff and all kinds of nonsense. But just like I said, progressively getting more outrageous with how I live life.
I would look at it more like, okay, give me that challenge. Okay, you said this is when. I say bullshit. I'm going to go beyond that.
That's right.
And that I'm going to not only just survive it, I'm going to thrive during this time. And with that mindset, I think that, regardless of when it happens, the life that you lead until then is going to be beyond what it would have been if you were just struggling and saying that you're going to try and survive as long as possible.
Right. Right.
So, so what kind of new things have you got coming up in the theater or in life that you're going to be doing that we should, kind of keep our eyes out for if we're going to be able to attend things on the theater?
Yeah.
Or, let's talk about some of that.
Well, we have a play that we're doing in New York. I don't know if we're going to be able to live stream it or not. This, again, the unions will determine. But the play is actually a cancer play, but I've been dying to do it. No pun intended. It's a little dark up in here. I apologize.
That was brilliant. I loved it.
Yeah.
Damn.
The play is called Wit, and it's about a cancer patient who has just finds out that she has stage 4 ovarian cancer at the top of the play. And it shows through flashbacks kind of how her life got up to where it is now, and how you transition from being someone who is more of a research and professional mindset to having more of compassionate.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I thought that was just me. My phone's been cutting in and out.
Lost Erin here for temporarily. Hopefully she'll pop back in.
Sorry, I'm very curious on what else she has to say though, because have you seen Dear Evan Hansen?
The what?
Dear Evan Hansen. Have you seen that, the musical?
No. Let's bring Erin back in here.
There we go.
I don't know what happened. I started talking about the future, and it's like, nope, cutting you off.
Yeah.
Well, let's get back into that and kind of talk about Wit and what it's about.
Yeah, so it's about this woman who is a professor of English, and is a very hardcore professor of the poetry of John Donne, which is all about life and death. And then she finds out she has this illness, and so she has to contend with what is it like being the research mindset. And she ends up going for a chemotherapy that will not save her life. She knows this, but for research, it'll be really great for people who come after her. And so she says, let's do it, until this research chemo ends up just destroying her. And she eventually has to start thinking about, well, what do I do if my organs fail? Do I want to be resuscitated? Do I not want to be resuscitated? And she finally finds a connection with a nurse who lets her know it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel pain, and it's okay to be scared, because a lot of people will go through this and try to pretend like it's not happening. And that's what the play is about. It's about humanity. It's about how we face adversity. So it's not just about cancer, but it's about anything that we are dealing with in life, where we, do we fight it with our head or do we fight it with our heart?
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's a real great perspective to take on things, because oftentimes, especially if you're talking to some of the doctors, they talk to you about all of your results and what the history has been and all of this stuff, which is all logical. But
Yeah.
your emotional part, or from your heart, is where kind of the nurses or the cancer coaches or the therapists really start to come into play in order to be able to focus on that aspect. Because oftentimes when you just hear the statistics, it's scary as hell.
Yeah, it really is.
You're talking about a really dark subject too with this musical. Is it mostly for like educational purposes, in the sense that it's very serious, it's very what it is, or does it have a lot of very dark humor in it? Is it trying to just introduce awareness to it, but still allow people to almost dissociate the full emotion with it, so they're able to digest it easier?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has a lot of comedic elements to it. It's a straight play as opposed to a musical. So, and it's, there's a lot of dark humor with it. One of the things that's humorous about it is that she's a professor and her main doctor is very, very young. And it turned out that he took her classes in college, in undergrad. And before you went to medical school. And so she's like, just imagine having your student now examining you in your very private areas. This is like, she turns to the audience and said, I should have given him an A. It's very funny, very dark, very funny. And that's when her legs are up in this, like, in the stirrups.
Nice. That's
great. I should have given him an A.
Well, I think, and I think that type of humor is really important to help people to understand different ways of coping with challenges of life. Whether it be, if you go back to watching MASH and what MASH was about, there was a lot of dark humor in there, and it was coping mechanisms for dealing with the situations that they were in. And it sounds like that's kind of part of what you're doing with that play.
Yeah, because the play itself, it's a Pulitzer Prize winning play by Margaret Edson. She wrote it because she knew someone who had been through cancer. I believe it was her brother, and she wanted to write something and like an homage to them. And then that was it. That's the last play that she's written. She's a professor herself, and she said, that's the story that I had to tell, and that's it. So, and it won this Pulitzer Prize. But nobody wants to go see a play about cancer. So it's really not about that. It is the plot of the play, but it's really about heart. And I think that's what we want to see, is something about heart.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me to a certain extent of Flowers from Algernon.
Oh, sure.
And, in his case, he went from one state to another state, from having a mental disability to being super intelligent, and then realizing he was going to go back to his state. And those types of feelings and things that you go through, that was not necessarily a whole lot of humor in there, but it was more of a different path or journey that people can take depending on the way that they want to look at life and what life they have to live.
I had forgotten about that story. Now I want to go back and read it.
Yeah, I'm a terrible. I hate reading, so I remember the play, and I think it was Cliff Robertson who was the actor in the movie. I'm sorry, in the movie, and I remember that just and it's been, I don't know how many years since I've seen it, but it made an impression on me in terms of how that works. So. Is there anything else that you'd like to bring up before we kind of get into the last part of our show, which is where we talk about something that's positive or that we'd like to leave with the audience? But I'd like to first ask you if there's some other things that you wanted to touch upon.
I don't think so. I mean, if anything, it would have been something positive, so we might as well just go right into it.
Well, That's awesome. Then, I really appreciate your being on the show and being open about everything that you are supporting, the things that you're going through, and the positive mental attitude. And I know a lot of people are like, that gets to be somewhat cliche, positive mental attitude, but it's real. And to be able to thrive in life, even though you may have some challenges that you're experiencing. And I really applaud you for everything that you're doing. I think that what you're doing with the theater and everything else is absolutely amazing. And I wish you the absolute best.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate being here and chatting with you too.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you.
So like I was mentioning at the end of the show, what we normally do is each person will go through and give one, and it can, it doesn't have to be that short, but something that is positive or that you want people to remember for today, for the rest of this week, or for the rest of their life. And we'll start off with Gavin, and then I'll go, and then Erin, you get to wrap it up.
I love it.
All right.
So my word of the day is inspired directly from Erin. I think she's a absolutely perfect example of this. Your life is not over until it is over. Even if somebody gives you 3 months, 3 years, 3 more decades, somebody tells you that you only have so long, then continue to live that long. Continue to live that long, and as she said, I kept asking her, oh, like, well, why don't you just go crazy with money and everything like that? That's me being 21 and thinking about doing reckless things. That's what that is. But then the logical thing is to, live your life to the fullest, but prepare for tomorrow, because while it is not guaranteed that it will be there, it is not guaranteed that it won't either, even if somebody tells you, hey, you only have this long. So whatever you're passionate about, whatever project you have, it may not be finished when you pass. It probably won't be finished. Hopefully, in all honesty, you have so big goals that they will be finished long after you're gone. One of the biggest companies in the world that we've been talking about today, Disney. When he started out, he had nothing. There's no way that he would ever be able to predict what his company has become now. And it's all done this after him. That's what the legacy is. That's what you're leaving behind for other people to carry that mantle and to continue to grow that fire while your ashes are at the bottom of the pit. That's what you want to do. You want to continue to work on your craft, your passion, so that way somebody else can continue it long after you're gone and you still live with it.
All right. For me, I'm going to kind of tie it into the One Square at a Time episode that we're dropping today on Big Hero 6, and to recognize and go back to the innocence and recognize that we do have, over the course of our life, we get these biases, we get these messages, we get told certain things, we get told that we have a certain amount of our life that's available to us to live. And what we believe we oftentimes will achieve, whether that be positive or negative. If you believe you only have a year to live, chances are that's about as far as you're going to go. If you believe that you can extend that beyond that, you're going to more than likely extend beyond that, and recognize that, in Big Hero 6, he gave of himself. Baymax actually gave of himself when he kind of made sure that Hero got out of this portal that he needed to get out of. But in order to do that, Baymax had to leave himself behind. And it's that legacy that he also put forth in the chip, the memory chip that was in his hand that went back with Hero. And it's that memory chip that lives on forever. So it's what we do today and what we do tomorrow that is going to continue to live on forever. So choose what you're going to do and choose the way that you want to be remembered, as opposed to letting somebody else choose how to remember you.
I think to just piggyback off of what you just said, it's also an idea of being of service to people. I think that if you look through your life and try to find people to help and be a helper, try to make a difference out there, even if it's just one person that you make a difference for, it really enriches your life and makes it worth living. And that's what I try to do. I just try to be of service as much as I can.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an honor to have you on the show, Erin. Really appreciate it. If you want to hang out just a couple minutes after we go off air, we can talk a little bit more. But I really do appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate, what you're doing with the Seeing Place Theater. And thank you again for being our guest.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. We will see you all next time, same place. Thank you to everyone who watched, subscribed, and shared it. That's the best way to help us, is by sharing this. We will see you all again next time. Have a wonderful day. We love you. Take care.
Take care.